All right, Ike. Well, in the news this week, something you love, taking a car that is not meant to go off road and charging you double, and sometimes even triple to then make it go off road. Okay.
This is the theme with manufacturers of non four-wheel drive vehicles. They see the four-wheel drive vehicles having all this fun, going interesting places, and they're like, "We kinda want to do that
We
too."
want to
So
make
we
it
had
drive.
the Morgan, we talked about the Morgan
That's
for a
right.
while. I feel
Right.
like this is another situation where we've got a traditionally two-wheel drive sports car
Yep.
manufacturer
Yep.
making an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, so this is definitely in that ilk. I think it's all the rage nowadays to take your extremely expensive German sports car and take it off road against its will. Well, this one is meant to do that. Air quotes around the meant to do that. The Porsche 911 Dakar edition, which is sort of an homage to those early Dakar Porsches that people
Yeah,
built up to do this, and like people take Volkswagens and whatever else. They're a great sort of mid-engine, well-balanced car, good rally car, but they have literally the antithesis of ground clearance. You can't
it's
even go
pretty
through
low.
a parking lot with one of those things normally. Well, this is a different situation. They have, well, first of all, for $250,000, you can be the proud owner of one of the 2,500 cars that they're going to build. So if you are in the market for a Dakar 911, you got to get there quick because the order books are filling up as they are. Honestly, $220,000 for a very specially built low number Porsche is not outrageous. Certainly, people buy Porsches for way more money that are built in a lot higher numbers. So, it seems outrageous at the outset, but actually, I'm surprised that it's only $220,000 given the price of things like the Morgan and those sort of things.
Yeah,
It's a
somebody paid more than that for, like, the Pope's Toyota Cressida or
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
it
no question,
yeah,
yeah.
so
And I will
this is
make my money
probably more
back on
fun
that.
than
I
that.
will make my money back on that. It's just history will prove me right, on that. So,
It's the Beanie Baby of cars. No
it
one's
sure
gonna want
is.
that.
Oh, man, no, it's great. No, just wait. It's only a matter of
Just wait.
time. Oh, you've got car fans and Pope fans. I mean, how can you lose? How can you lose, you know? It's everything.
Spoken from a Freelander owner, the bored ape of cars.
More to come on that later. So this car has a 1.9-inch airlift over the stock car, meaning you can roll over parking curbs at the Trader Joe's
Yes.
now, so that's no problem. And the cool thing, I actually think it's pretty. It has a rally grade, again air quotes over that. I don't know what that means, but rally grade air suspension that can lift the car up to 3.1 inches. So when you think about it, 3 and a little bit inches on a 911 rally car, like that's actually not too bad, I guess. I mean, you're not gonna do King of the Hammers in this thing, but certainly should be pretty decent off road. And the cool thing is, unlike a new Defender or something, it can maintain that high airlift mode up to 105 miles an hour, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
every picture of the car online is it driving over, like, a completely smooth but off-road
Yes,
surface. It's like
yes,
a sand flat or
yes,
a salt flat or
yes,
some other
yes.
kind of flat.
Very
It's
flat. Yes,
just
very flat.
just cruising
Sometimes a
along at
hill.
speed.
Yeah, but the hill is just graded so that
Oh,
it's,
it's so
perfectly flat.
smooth.
It's
So
perfectly
smooth.
smooth, yes. I could
Yeah.
take a stock Toyota Corolla on that same road, but nonetheless, I don't think I could take it 105 miles an hour because I don't think a Toyota Corolla goes up miles an hour, but,
Yeah.
it does have a steering rear axle, which seems insane because, like, those cars already steer, like, almost in their own, wheelbase, but now, I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. And then it has a 20% limited slip rear differential when it's in off-road mode. There's apparently a button you press and it like lifts up and it goes into off-road mode and it, yeah, it makes a noise, makes a
Yeah.
growling noise. And it has specially made Scorpion AT Plus tires, 27-inch tires on it. So I don't know. It's kind of neat.
This thing needs some braid wheels.
It does need some braid wheels. The wheels that are on it kinda look a little, they're fine, but, it's super, needs some white braid wheels. It has an optional roof rack. There's some gack you can get for it. You can get a rooftop tent for it, which I think is kind of a confusing statement with, like, what market then is it actually, like, I mean, it's not for camping, right? Like, is
I
it?
mean, it could be. It
I
could be
guess it
for
could be.
anything.
I guess it could be for camping. There's not exactly like a legendary amount of room inside of a 911. So if you got the roof covered with a rooftop tent, and then you've got, I don't know, like room for like a not an extra pair of shoes, just a shoe. You've got an extra shoe you can bring with you. But yeah. Anyways,
I
that's
feel
there you
like
go.
our listener of the show and occasional visitor Brock Keane sort of
Mhm.
helped popularize the rooftop tent on 9/11. If you
Yeah.
follow Brock Keane
Yep.
on Instagram, he is always driving around in his, I think it's a 993 or something like that,
Right.
996, can't remember. At any rate, he's always driving that around with the rooftop tent on top, and so Rover enthusiast as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
think, I'm a big fan of like tiny cars as like camping deals. It's just most of them are sort of station wagony shapes that you've got,
Boxes. They're
yeah,
boxes that you can
yeah,
put things in, and
yeah,
this
you
is
get some
not
cool
a
stuff.
box.
Not at all. In fact, there's not one flat surface on a 911. It's like one giant compound curve, It's like when you drop
There
warm
is one
butter.
flat surface, it's underneath the car.
It's underneath the car. It's very flat until you go over something that's a little heavier than just gravel, and then it's just 1,000 little dents
Yeah.
under there. But yeah. Speaking of new cars, I hear that you accidentally purchased a new car.
This is true, this is true. I, accidentally bought a car, I can tell you how it happened. We have a customer that has, lived in Alaska, and for
Okay,
those of you that don't know, if you live in Alaska, you get paid by the government to live there, especially if you're like a,
Vero.
skilled person,
Oh, right. Yeah, right,
and,
right.
his wife is a doctor, so they have
Oh,
been living in Alaska, on the, government gravy train.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
No, I mean, there's a lot of,
you have
there's a
to
lot
do
of
it.
difficulties to living in
Yeah, you
Alaska,
have to
and they
do it.
wanna
Yeah,
encourage people to live there,
yeah,
so that's a perk of living there
yeah.
among, the, general natural beauty and that sort of
Because
thing. But,
if we don't occupy it, it reverts back to Russia, right? Is that how it works? Like, is it
I'm pretty
something like
sure,
that? Yeah, 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 yeah,
that's in the fine print when
yeah.
we
It's
bought
in
it
there
from them,
somewhere. Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
So at any rate, he had a Series 2A, a kind of unusual, model. It's a
Mhm.
6888 North American specification, and, for those of you that don't know, 68 was a partial production year. The
Yep.
last half of 68 was, of course, Bug Eye
Yep.
production,
Yep.
and the early part of 68 was, the production of the first negative ground short wheelbase, but it still had the inset headlights. So in
Yep.
that way, it's a lot like the NADA six-cylinder station wagon. It's sort
Right.
of that same sort
Exactly.
of
Yep.
configuration, but it's a
Yep.
short wheelbase
Short wheelbase.
and it's a four-cylinder. So it's the corollary to the Nada station wagon in that
Mhm.
it's inset headlights, negative ground. So it has the black dash and so forth. So anyway, he's been working on this car for a few years and he's done some things to it, but there's quite a bit more to do. So
Mhm.
he was towing it from Alaska to Tennessee,
Oh.
and he's like he has an FJ Cruiser, which
Oh, yeah.
for
Okay.
those of you that don't know is a sort of retro styled sort of um, what would you call that, SUV?
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Toyota SUV comes in
Kinda
like sort of retro colors and
sort of meant to be an homage, I think, to the original Toyota FJs after a fashion, but
yeah, it
not
doesn't have a lot
yeah.
in common
No.
stylistically, but,
No.
at
Like
any
a
rate, it's not a tow vehicle, I guess is
right.
what I'm getting at.
Right.
So
Yes.
he bought a trailer and he picked up his, Land Rover from the dock and, I guess he's, it's having a little bit of a hard time, with all the things he has to do to move, and he
And
was
he
just
shipped it
like
to Seattle and
yeah,
then brought it down? Yeah, okay.
yeah, and so, I think he got, down to Oregon, he was just like, "You know what? I'm gonna get another Land Rover, get to Tennessee, I don't need to tow this thing all the way across country." So he stops by and he's like, I got a lot of pieces for this car, for this project from you, and, I don't wanna tow it to Tennessee, so would you consider buying it?" And I was like, I don't really need another Land Rover, there's, like,
Mhm.
several here, so, and he said, "Well, I'm gonna need you to I'm gonna need you to buy this." And so, long story short, there was some twisting of arms, and, I ended up with this '88,
Yes, yes.
and, it's it's a Land Rover. It's got a lot of good things, got new tires and new swivel
Mm.
balls, and
Mhm.
it's red, it's poppy red, and,
Oh, cool.
I'm a sucker for old faded poppy red, and, yeah, it's not a bad, '88, but, it needs some brake work. It has a little of the Alaska corrosion, it needs some things. So,
Yeah.
it is very far down on the list of projects, but
Right.
it, yeah, it's all there. It runs, it drives, it starts, it sorta stops. It, does all the things that a Land Rover does, only slightly worse than
Yep.
it
Yep.
should.
Yep.
So,
Yep. 67, 68, 69. Those are interesting years for Series 2s. There was a lot
definitely a
of,
transition
yeah,
period,
lots of
and this
stuff going on in there. There was
lots of
some,
stuff going on. It's
you
the
know,
only year for inset headlights and power
yep,
brakes,
and power
so it
brakes.
has the
Yeah.
power brakes, which is kind of a nice thing, and,
Yep.
it has a few neat
This was,
features that I
Land Rover's college years. They were experimenting, they were trying to find
Reverse
themselves,
couch. Now,
just,
speaking of experimenting, the previous owner experimented with some, various, like, furry animal print seat covers on this
oh, yeah.
car, and,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
open the door, it just looks like there's already 3 Ewoks sitting there. The seat, they're just so furry. I'll have to, we'll have to post up a picture of that.
Oh, that's like a Momoa-esque kind of, seat treatment. That's,
Yeah,
there you go. That
yeah.
harkens back to the buffalo
Equally
seat.
riddled with lice.
Yeah, right, of course, yeah. You just get in there with some Nair and
There.
just kinda hit it, and then it's back to normal, yeah.
Ooh,
Just
it
yeah.
burns. Any rate,
Yeah, yeah.
that, that is, that happened yesterday, so,
Well, there you go.
it just showed up. It was on a it was on a trailer, it's delivered, I wasn't expecting to
Yeah,
pick up a Land Rover. I always tell people a lot of people come to me and they say, "I'm looking for a Land Rover. I've been looking, it's really hard, there's not a lot listed for sale,
yeah, yeah,
I've looked at, a lot online, it's always hard, they're imported, blah, blah, blah." And I always tell them the easiest way to buy a Land Rover is to own a Land Rover, because then people will
yeah.
come up to you
2
and
and just,
try to
"Do you want
sell
do you
you
want this Land
theirs.
Rover as well?" It's absolutely true. There's no one that I know that haven't at one point said like, "Oh, I drove by this Land Rover on the way to work here. I took a photo of the, like, for sale sign for you. Like, you should call
Yeah,
this guy." I'm like, "No, no, I'm good. Thank you, but, I appreciate it." Yeah, no, it's that YouTube video of the guy sitting in the boat with just fish jumping into the boat. It's like once you've got one, they tend
yeah.
to accumulate friends because everybody's like, "Oh, this
This
guy,"
guy
especially you have more than 2, then
this
they're like,
guy's an
"This
idiot.
guy is an idiot. Yeah, this guy has no idea what's going on. He's
He
gonna
has
buy a
no
nice shitty
self-control,
old Land
clearly.
Rover." Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and if you have a Freelander parked out front, then all kinds of garbage just starts showing up, you know? You never know. You never know. Speaking of His Majesty's, G4 edition Land
What?
Rover,
What's going
it
on with that
is
thing?
it's running. It is
What?
actually running
No.
again. It is running.
There's
It
a
is
running
running.
Freelander? That's the rarest Land Rover of
I
all time.
know. It is the rarest Land Rover of all time. It's running. Ed has driven it around, the shop. We are making plans to, repatriate it up here. I, of course, would like to drive it up here. Everyone else is saying, "Don't drive it up there. Don't
I
waste
think you
those
should.
miles." It's
I
only
think you
got
should.
maybe 80 running miles before it blows up again, so, I
80
personally,
running
want to. That's
miles.
what I wanna do. I
80
wanna do.
miles.
There's a
Oh,
ticker
no.
on the dash counting down to the next time it'll break down, but,
N
you
now,
know.
speaking of, this is actually fortuitous because, for those of you that don't know, there's a 75th
Oh, yes.
anniversary,
Absolutely.
celebration at Creek Peak, and
That's
Anarch,
right.
the
That's
Association
right.
of North American Land Rover Clubs, is, putting on this event,
Yes.
and,
Our
our good friend
very
of the
good friend
show,
Dixon. Yep. Yep.
Dixon Bob
Bob
Steele, who was
Steele.
at,
Yeah, Bob Steele,
Destination
Dixon
Defender,
Kenner. We've got
he is
all
talking
the
about
all-stars,
he is
all-stars.
talking about free admission for bringing a running Freelander. Just
That's
wanted to point that out.
that's right. Bob mentioned that, and so did Dixon. Both they're I guess they want to do both 80 inches if you drive him in, and if you drive a running Freelander, you will not have to pay admission. So immediately, the underpowered logistics team went to work on figuring out what it would take for us to get the
You should
Freelander
just you
up
should just
there,
use that to ferry other people.
right? It's a for some reason, the Anarch event lost, $100,000. We don't know how it's possible. Everybody showed up
Nobody
in
had to
one
pay
running
admission.
Freelander. Yeah, it was just one running Freelander.
It's like
Yeah,
a the
we are looking at the logistics of going to that event. The likelihood of having the Freelander there, I don't know. I wanna ship it out there. I'll tell you what, we'll put it to the, listeners. If anyone is headed from California, you know what? I'll just take to past, to east of California. If we can set up a railroad, a convoy, a relay, if you will, for the undisputed king of Land Rovers, the underpowered hour G4 edition
Who
company
wants to
car,
drive a
Freelander.
Freelander to the East Coast?
No, no, you can't be driven. It can't be driven. No, 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 no,
Can't
no.
be
We
driven.
only have 80 miles. So we can maybe get it on and off of trailers all the way across the country. But
No,
if you would
cross-country Freelander trip.
if
That's the
you
most
would like to be a
adventurous Land Rover
part,
excursion ever.
it's funny because a lot of people talk about the, Oxford in America, those sort of things. I think this could be equally as ambitious.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing: Oxford has already driven across a number of continents. I don't think a Freelander has ever driven across a continent by
No,
its
it's
own
never
power
crossed
or
2
otherwise.
borders.
It's
It's
never
never
ever crossed two
crossed 2
borders.
borders.
Never happened. It's never happened. So if you would like to be a part of that, get a hold of us either through the website, on Instagram, whatever your preferred method of communication is. We would love to, very much like Oxford, right? We want to share this important car with the world. I think it's really important that just wait. We'll get a cease and desist from our friends at Jaguar Land Rover to be
Wouldn't
like,
be the first
we don't
one.
talk about
Wouldn't
we
be the
don't talk
first
about the
one.
Freelander. Yeah, well, that's all right. If we're not getting that, we're not doing it right. So it is, at any rate, we do have it, and it is available. If someone wants to try to pull it across the country, we would be more than happy to indulge you in letting you have it for a
Free
little
admission
while.
to Greek Peak.
I
Land
mean,
Rover.
it's something. It's something. We're trying to figure it
Something.
out. Trying
Something.
to figure
Definitely worth
out
it.
how to go. But speaking of free admission, Michael Gossiper, how are things at the brand new world headquarters of the legendary Pangolin 4x4? How goes things in the workshop?
Steadily ramping up. Not only are we starting to get, tools and equipment set up, but we are actually working. And not only are we actually working, we're actually finishing projects. And the first one that we have finished recently is some service work on a Bring a Trailer veteran
Oh,
NADA 109 station wagon. So the
oh
customer
yeah,
brought it off of Bring a Trailer, said, "Hey, this is a nice car. I just want to make sure that doesn't have any other issues, and I also want you to make a few upgrades."
right.
So it came to the shop, and it's a shiny 109 wagon. It's been restored at some point in its past, and
Yeah,
it's getting a few upgrades, power brakes.
y-
Those NADA station wagons have the
yeah.
very obscure Clayton Dewandre,
Yes,
power
yes,
booster, and that was
yes.
missing from this car. So it
Oh,
only
really?
had single circuit unboosted brakes.
Mhm.
So he was like, I want to drive this thing.
Yeah,
I need
gotta
some
have
power
a.
brakes. So
Yeah.
we installed the later Series 3 type power brakes, and we had to
Hmm.
modify the fender.
Hmm.
And this one had already been painted. So our good friend Ken Dawson, who is
Hmm.
an excellent painter, he sorted out that we did the metal work, and he finished the fender, and it just blends in perfectly. It blends in
Excellent.
perfectly. So we did that. We did a lot of service work. There had been some kludging, some bodging of various carburetor linkages, and
Oh yeah,
those trucks also have a problem with phenolic or plastic
yeah,
bushing in the
yeah.
throttle linkage that goes bad, and so
Hmm.
had to replace that. And various other things, some replacement of rubber brake hoses, and just some various things that have been overlooked over the years, tidying up the winch wiring, and
Yeah.
installing a cutoff switch for that, and just kind of going through it and saying, these are the problems that it has. There's a couple things like a choke cable was not working, and there's a little bit of electrical that wasn't functional. So just kind
Hmm.
of starting at the front and going to the back, and
Hmm.
sorting out all of those issues. I think it'll be back for some more heavy lifting, maybe a new suspension in the future, but
Yeah.
the owner's going to come pick it up soon, and I'm excited because we've been driving around, and those things are super smooth. And what a great car to take a road trip in. I think he's going to drive it to Idaho.
Oh, fantastic. Oh.
So I always love seeing old Land Rovers taking long trips, and that's a good one. That's going to take him a while to get to Idaho, and he's going to have to drive through Eastern Oregon, some pretty remote areas. So
Yeah.
I've got my fingers crossed that we've crossed all our T's and dotted all of our I's on that one. And then we also just yesterday had delivered to us for some service work at a really, really nice original 109 pickup. This fellow's dad purchased it new,
Hmm.
and it's been in their family since then. It was sold through Carberry Motors, the famous
Yeah.
Land
Yeah.
Rover dealership in Willits, California.
Yeah.
and it's a really nice truck. It's a North American spec,
Yeah.
left-hand drive, pastel green, original paint, 66, and 66 is a real good year. I really like those. Got some nice features. Got the Kodiak Mark IV heater,
Ooh,
and it
cool.
has a full deluxe interior
Oh,
cab
nice.
trim set. It's like got the full cold weather package, which is kind of nice
Yeah.
because it's chilly here in Oregon.
Yeah,
It's got the
yeah.
Kodiak heater and the insulated floors and seat box and like rear bulkhead, behind the
Mhm,
seats.
mhm.
So the whole interior is trimmed on this car, and so rare to see that still exist. Not only
Yeah,
exist, but it's totally complete. Has the original floor mats, and the owner wants us to kind of go through and replace a lot of the rubber seals that have gone bad and that
yeah.
sort of thing. It still runs and drives. It's really incredible. Still got its Solex carburetor. Very,
Nice.
original
Oh,
car.
that's
Just
great.
got a few missing pieces that have gone, by the wayside over the years, but we have those in stock, and we'll put that all right back together, and he'll be driving it for another 50 years. So
I
it's a
had,
really cool truck.
I had that same, car, Series 3, but
Mhm.
that same configuration, a long wheelbase, pickup,
Pickup.
version with
Mhm.
the little mini cab, and I have to say, like, in Canada, in the winter, that's the way to go. The little pickup cab heats up real quick, even with the tiny motor. I didn't have the
Mhm.
Kodiak heater, I just had the, like, non-functional, essentially, Land Rover heater, but even then, it was enough on most days, to sort of you let it heat up a little bit, it was nice. It was and I didn't
Those
have
are
any interior or anything. It was just the cabin. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, those are pretty cozy, and the cab trim makes a big difference just in terms of the condensation.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah,
it,
you don't
it
get the
starts
drippies.
to
Yeah.
get, drippy and starts raining inside
Yeah.
the cab on you.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
So it's nice. It actually is really nice. It was chilly yesterday, and we had this car going, and it heated up pretty quick, and it's got that
nice.
big heater, small
Yeah,
space,
yeah.
and, it's a really nice car. Really
That's great.
cool.
I'm a
Well, yeah,
big
so
fan. I'm a big fan of the pickups. I like the pickup converted or the pickup versioned, long wheelbase cars. They're,
I'll be
super
posting
cool.
some pictures of that
Super
car,
cool.
and speaking of pickups,
Mhm.
Linus and I did a Rover pickup
You
of
sure did.
pickups.
You
It was
sure
a
did.
pickup of pickups,
It was.
and, we had an epic multi-thousand-mile journey
Yeah.
to the Great White North, your
That's true.
hometown
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, yes,
of
home
Canada.
of Canada. Yeah, it's my hometown of Canada. Yeah, yeah, you guys sure did, man. It was, we got a pictorial essay, via text, while you guys, were up there. I looked forward to every day hearing, whether you had frozen to death yet or finally the rover you'd added too many rovers to your train and the entire
Yeah,
thing had collapsed along the Trans-Canada somewhere, but, in fact, the story is so epic, it couldn't possibly fit inside of a normal episode. So we are going to, for the first time, do a winter breakdown
winter
coming up.
breakdown,
Yeah,
yes.
coming up here very soon. Where
There's giant fires, there's snowstorms, there's blizzards, there's mountains, there's
oh yeah,
polar bears, there's all kinds of
Sasquatch at one
things,
point. Yeah, it
Sasquatches,
was. Oh yeah,
mutants.
yeah,
It's gonna
mutants.
be
Yeah,
amazing.
oh yeah.
Indian food, really
Oh
tasty
yeah,
Indian
yeah,
food,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so many Land Rovers and,
yeah,
some really great Land
yeah.
Rover enthusiasts that we met along the way. So we'll, have an entire episode with Linus
Yes.
devoted to that in, here in a few weeks.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. The fans are always, so, stoked to, have Linus, on an episode. The listenership increases by 1, sometimes even as many as 4 people
Wow.
when Linus doubling, a full doubling of our audience,
Doubles our
anytime
audience.
anytime Linus is on the show, and I think that's because, your mom listens to it twice when Linus is on, so,
That's probably
they
true.
may not be
It's probably true.
actual, but whatever. Whatever, it counts, it counts, whatever plays those AT&T commercials, we'll, get that sweet 9 cents, thing or whatever. Anyways, it's great. It's great. That's, one,
So yeah, look forward
mm,
to that upcoming episode. It's going to be epic. We had a really fun time, and there are so many Land Rovers. So we'll have to post up some pictures in our Patreon of that
yeah,
trip,
yeah,
and we'll post up some other pictures for the you plebes that listen as well.
yes, that's
But
right. Yeah, that's right.
if you want that extra special content, please subscribe to our Patreon.
The champagne room of Land Rover photographs,
Oh
yes,
yeah,
on the, you get the full Linus experience on Patreon. So, actually, I think that's probably gonna drive people away from the Patreon, but, hey, you never
cancel.
know. You never know. You never know. A whole plethora of different overall photos there on the Patreon. So yeah, so tune in there. Speaking of epic Land Rover journeys, we have a new Land Rover in the movies. Technically, it's not really in the movies. It's in the television show.
It's a
But
show. Yeah.
you found an interesting Land Rover show the other day on the Red Menace on Netflix.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, there's always that sort of expedition, world traveler, sort of aspect to Land Rovers. There's been so many scientific, historical, anthropological,
Yep.
trips that have been done.
Meteorological,
Meteorological,
paleontological,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
paleontological.
cosmetological,
God, that's so at any rate, there's a show on Netflix and it's called Ancient Apocalypse, and that's a little dramatic. Basically, they're, seeking out, lost civilizations,
yeah.
lost advanced civilizations, throughout the world, and this
Mhm.
controversial guy, he's a little bit maybe in the sort of kooky alien crowd,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Graham
yeah.
Hancock, but,
Is that it's not the Ancient Aliens guy, is
it
it? It's a
isn't.
different guy.
No, it's
Okay,
not that
different guy,
guy.
different guy.
No, it is a different guy, and he is
Okay.
a little more credible than that
Okay, then the
guy.
Ancient Alien guys. Okay, okay.
But yeah, he's on the show and he visits these remote places and sees these remote anthropological sites and basically it's like large structures that were built so long ago that it shouldn't have been possible
Right,
with the
right,
technology that they had available to them.
right.
At any rate,
Mhm,
he goes to Indonesia
mhm,
and he looks at this large structure that's built from basalt columns
mm.
and Indonesians are enthusiastic Land Rover drivers.
That's
If
right,
you guys follow
absolutely.
any of
Yeah.
the Instagram content
Mhm.
that follows Land Rover owners in Indonesia, there's a lot of Land Rovers
Yeah,
there and
yeah,
a lot of really like diehard enthusiasts.
yeah.
So check out some of the Instagram profiles that are featuring Land Rovers in Indonesia. It's really pretty incredible. But he drives a Series 3 bronze green 109 soft top through this episode and he drives it through the mountains and there's scenes of it descending and ascending
Mhm,
various archaeological sites and so forth, so it's pretty cool. It's a sort of interesting show and it has some Land Rover content through several sequences in the show. There's the Land Rovers featured fairly prominently, so
mhm.
check it
That's
out.
very cool. That's
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, I mean, old places in South America and Land Rovers are, yeah, synonymous with each other.
Indonesia is not in
Indonesia
South
is not in
America.
South America, but we're close enough. Did they find did they find any ancient Land Rovers in any of these tombs? Like this couldn't possibly have a Series 1 Land Rover in it,
I don't
but
know.
yeah.
I'll admit that I haven't seen the entire episode,
I
so
see.
that
Yeah.
that may happen. That may
Okay.
happen.
Well, then
Someone
stay
was
tuned. I mean, yeah,
someone was buried, and all of their Land Rovers were buried with them.
buried with them. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how I'm gonna go out, I think.
yeah.
That's what I
It's gonna
would
be a
like is,
big hole. That's
it's a
gonna
big
be a
hole.
big
Yeah, it's
hole.
just start dumping Freelanders in there. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. Well, as you know, today is the national holiday that we refer to as Cyber Monday.
Cyber
Um,
Monday.
yeah, it's when you have to meet a partner online and send them pictures of your junk. I believe
I
that's what
don't
it's
think that's what it
celebrating.
is. I think
No?
it's for those people that opt out of Black Friday.
Oh.
It's Cyber Monday. It's when you shop, you don't wanna go to the store, so you shop from your home, the convenience
I'm
of
gonna
your
need
home online.
to, pull back a
You're
bunch
gonna
of
have to
text
send an
messages then.
email.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
You
to send a
just
couple of
send
emails, just a couple of clarifying emails. But at any rate, if you are into, Cyber Monday and, you didn't, for whatever reason, catch our, Black Friday sale, today only, Cyber Monday, you can use the discount, code Double Taper on our, website under poweredhour.com to get 15% off of all the stickers. All the stickers can belong to you at 15% off with the discount code double taper. And that will, yeah, get yourself some tiny Ikes, some medium size Ikes, get yourself some rally team defenders. We still have some 80 inches. We have some rainbow camel trophy. We have very few of those, but we got a couple of the legacy stickers. And yeah, the new year is going to yield, well, the new year and a little bit Christmas here. We're a little late on getting our Christmas stuff up, but there's going to be a couple of special Christmas items here in a few weeks as well. But you'll have an opportunity to buy all kinds of great stickers and then more to come in the new year. So if you've been procrastinating about buying that rainbow tiny Ike that you've always wanted, well, my friends, today is that day. Please use discount code double taper and get yourself 15% off of anything in the sticker category. With that, Ike, it has been a pleasure as always. And I apologize in advance for that Cyber Monday text message.
All right, Stephen, I will see you next time. Have a happy Cyber Monday.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Barris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Barris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.